Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time visiting. Today I am bringing you some more mass market madness. This is just a fun series where I like to highlight some of my favorite or just some good quality mass market tarot and oracle decks that I think you might want to check out if you prefer to buy mass market decks or if they are more readily available to you. Quick bit of information, a mass market deck, or what I mean by that, is a deck that is printed by a publisher, and often these are easier to get, they're more affordable than a deck that is independently produced. So we're only talking about mass market decks that are available through a bookseller, through a metaphysical store, that sort of thing, not necessarily things that you would have to buy directly from the creator. So without further ado, let me get into some great mass market decks. I can't believe I've never talked about the Botanical Inspirations Oracle on a Mass Market Madness video before, because this is a fantastic deck. This is a US Games Oracle, and it has remained my very favorite Oracle deck for pairing with decks that have I like to pair this with tarot decks that have a more aged or vintage feel. This is such a great pairing for that, and I really find it's got a lot of depth. So first of all, it comes in this unique open up box this way, and what you get, at least the version that I got, which has been out for quite a while now, you get an About the Illustrator card, which I tuck into the bottom here, but you also get this really fun The Secret Language of Flowers quick little guide that shows you for each flower what its association was. And this is, I think, based on, there's a name for it, but the Victorian Flower Associations, I believe, is what it was. So I also keep that tucked down here. And then you have a guidebook, which we're going to talk about. But first, let's take a look at the cards. So the only thing I really don't like about this deck is I don't like that the title of the deck is on the back. I would have preferred something a little bit more generic. Just, I don't know, not a fan of words on the backing. Just like I'm not a fan of borders on my backings. But the layout of this deck is you get this really beautiful parchment look, and then this gorgeous sort of floral illustration. You get the name of the flower as well as its botanical name, and then you get a keyword and a quote, or key phrase in a quote. So for the asters, you get elegance and patience, and then there's a quote by Lao Tzu that says, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished." And so they're all like this. You get these beautiful quotes and key phrases. I find that this makes a wonderful deck for journal work. And I find that this works really well, again, paired with more vintage looking or older tarot decks. Decks like the Tildwick Tarot, for example, that I wouldn't really know what to pair with it. This goes really nicely with. Or with the Carta Postal Tarot, for example. And I just really love the quotes. I love the messages. And it's just really pretty to look at. I love that it's got this kind of aged, vintagey look to it. It's just a really, really beautiful deck, and I have never been tempted to rehome this. It's just a really great deck to have on hand. And what I really especially like, even besides what you get on the cards, which I think is an awful lot, like you can definitely work with this right out of the box, is that in the guidebook, you get that quote again, you get the symbolism of it, so that keyword. For crocus, it's cheerfulness. Then you get a message. It talks about the connection between crocus and that meaning. And then you get this little part here that says inspirational message. Even when you're feeling fragile and delicate, there is a core of cheerfulness within you that always seems to find its way to the surface. And this seems to be just a really beautiful message. I often find myself writing these down into my tarot journal. I just really like working with this deck. It's been a really solid deck in my collection, and I've enjoyed, I just really, really enjoy it. And it's on that US Games cardstock that's, I think this is a little more flexible, but maybe it's just that this is a smaller, no, I guess it's still pretty stiff, but it shuffles nicely and it fans beautifully. Yeah, it's a lovely little deck. I love this one. So I just really wanted to highlight this to you as a deck worth checking out. As far as I know, this is still readily available and affordable, and I really like it. Yeah, 2017 is when this came out, and I just really genuinely enjoy this deck. So yeah, that is the Botanical Inspirations Oracle. Can we just talk for a second about my adorable succulent? Look at this thing. Isn't it the cutest? Peggy and I saw this in a little grocery store, and I was like, it's in a unicorn pot, and it's so cute. And this little burst of growth at the top from here up is what's grown since I brought it home just a few days ago. It just like exploded. which is pretty awesome. If you know about succulents, I'd be curious. If you want to keep them kind of short and squat, am I supposed to trim that? Like, what do you do to keep it like short, or do I just keep letting it get tall and leggy? Like, what's the, anyways, random interlude about succulents, but I'm really pleased with this little one. Anyways, the next deck I want to talk about is the Phantasma Tarot. This is a deck by Paulina Fay. Just move the bag out of the way. This is so lovely. This has edged out my other Paulina Tarot, which was the Joie de Vivre Tarot that I had on hand. I really, really like this one. I worked with this one for a month straight and really had a great time with it. What I like about this, there's so many things. Okay, so this is another US Games. By the way, every deck that I'm showing you today was purchased with my own money, with one exception where I was gifted a deck, but I was not sent any of these for review from a publisher or anything like that. So the Phantasma Tarot, one of the things I really like about it is how vibrant the colors and the artwork is. Some of Paulina's other decks tend to run a little bit pale in color, like they're very like pastel, and this is also pretty pastel. This is what the backings look like, by the way. This is also pretty pastel, but I find it to be pretty vibrant. And what I like about this is that there's a lot going on in every card. It feels like a full scene, whereas the Joie de Vivre kind of felt like we were centered in on just the central character or characters. This really draws you in, but it feels like the illustrations take you right into the Rider-Waite-Smith if that is the system that you're comfortable working in. I can really see the Rider-Waite-Smith in every single card, but they're also really soft and lovely. And there's definitely the element of the fantastical about it. There is this kind of playful vibe, this otherworldly kind of magical creature situation. Like here we have a four-legged zebra-ish like character, but it's also kind of like a zebra centaur sort of thing. It's just really fun. And I've had no issues having really good, meaningful, hello, the Four of Cups. I've had no issue getting really good readings from this deck. I really, really enjoy it. I like the level of color saturation. I really have no problem reading with it. Whereas I feel like with some of Paulina's other decks, they kind of end up fizzling for me after a time. This one has remained really easy for me to read with. Again, you can easily see the 10 of Wands in this image. And some of her other decks I feel like go a little too much their own way almost, whereas this one ties us back into the Rider-Waite-Smith, but it keeps Paulina's unique artistic style. So it's a really nice hybrid of her other decks. I've looked at her at the Paulina Tarot. I've had the Joie de Vivre for some time, and it's currently in my purgatory. And this is the one that I'm vibing with at the moment. And I really, really enjoy it. So this one's a little bigger than standard tarot size, I believe. But it's not unmanageable. It shuffles really nicely. It's still that sort of, I guess you would say, slightly stiffer US Games cardstock. But for me, it's not an issue. I feel like if you have hand strength issues, these decks can be a little bit stiff feeling. But they do break in nicely. At least in my experience, they break in pretty nicely. But yeah, that is the Phantasma Tarot by Paulina Fay, published by US Games. The guidebook doesn't have like images in it. The messages are quick and snappy. You do get a message, keywords, and a reversed message and reverse keywords. So you get what you need and a little write-up. And this has been working great for me. So that is the Phantasma Tarot by Paulina Fay. I am having such a love affair with the Love Yourself As You Are, Love Who You Are Oracle by Angie Sullins. Oh my goodness, this is incredible. There's something about this combination of Angie's writing and Silas, who I believe is her partner. Yeah, soulmate, partner and soulmate, Silas Tobal. Silas's artwork with Angie's write-ups, it's an incredible combination. The Love Who You Are Oracle is very much a self-worth themed oracle. I just realized this is, oh my gosh, is everything I have US Games? That was not intentional, but I think everything I have is US Games. This is also a US Games deck. That's really funny. The last one, I think, is a different publisher. All but one are US Games. Sorry, it's just how it worked out this time. Anyways, this is what the backings look like. They're so pretty with the butterflies, and they're gold gilded. They are glossy, but they feel lovely, and they're really high quality. They just feel vibrant, and I love that about glossy cards. Anyway, what I love the most about this deck is it's very much self-worth themed. I've got so much good stuff to share with you about the guidebook. First, let's just take a look at some of the themes on the cards. It's this really pretty collage kind of style, but the key messages or the key phrases on the cards take you right into a self-worth practice. So we have radiate gratitude, celebrate the little things, mind your monkey business. This is one of my favorite cards. Remember your crown, queen. Easy does it. Look at this sloth, though. Just look at him. Become an alchemist. Grow belonging. Create intentional solitude. Tend the fragile. Embrace what is. Own your star. Honor your wisdom. Get lost. Always settle for more. I love that. Gather your nuts. Float like you mean it. Release expectations. Look beyond the surface. Don't quit your daydream. I mean, these are so fantastic, and all of them are along these same themes. And they're really beautiful to look at as well. Now, this is the same pair that did the Wisdom of Papez Oracle, which I also have and love, but this has become my Angie Sullen's favorite, partly because of the theming. But the guidebook really takes this to a whole nother level. So let me just show you a little bit about what's going on in here. So there is poetry by Angie throughout that is very self-worth themed. So you begin with the poem Becoming Her, which is super gorgeous. I'll let you discover that when you buy this deck, if you buy this deck. But there's a lot of really wonderful, I mean, it's so well done. So you get a full color image of the card. You get a beautiful write-up that, again, is very self-worth, self-confidence themed. Radiate gratitude. This deck has become a go-to for me when I want a self-care or self-worth message. It's just been really, really great. And there's these like bits of poetry worked in throughout the guidebook. It's so good that typically if the guidebook is not the same size as the deck, like this one is a little bit bigger than the deck, I will not keep them together in a bag. But I have to with this one because I have to use it with the guidebook because the guidebook is so wonderful that I don't want to be separated from it, which I think says a lot. And the box that this comes in is like, it's got a little spot for the cards to sit in, and then the guidebook sits on top, and that's fine. It's just a chunkier guidebook box than I really want, so I just keep it in this beautiful butterfly Peggy bag because y'all know she keeps me in beautiful bags. But yeah, it's a great bag deck combo. Anyway, the Love Who You Are is an excellent buy. If you've been looking for a deck to work on some self-worth stuff, Love Who You Are is just a beautiful one, and I definitely encourage you to check it out. This next deck is at a higher price point for mass market, but I think the production quality more than justifies the cost in this case. So I'm a huge fan of this deck and what US Games did to publish it in such a beautiful way. First of all, this is the Theodore Pavlov tarot that I'm about to talk about. You get this beautiful hardbound full color guidebook that's very, very well done to go with this deck. I feel like US Games really just went all out with doing such a beautiful job of putting this one together, and I'm so impressed by it. But really nice to have a gorgeously bound, sturdy, well put together guidebook. That just makes me really excited. And you know your money is going somewhere. If they're going to charge you more for a mass market deck, it's nice to see that you can see the increase in price plays out in the production quality. The deck itself is on gorgeous linen cardstock. This is the first linen cardstock I've seen come out of US Games, and it's a really nice, flexible, thin linen. This might surprise people who have not had a linen cardstock deck before, but typically linen cardstock decks do tend to run thinner. Partly that's because linen was popularized for playing cards, and playing cards you want them to be thin, you want them to shuffle really nicely. So when you have that kind of a deck, it just behaves beautifully, and it's got gorgeous flex. What the linen does is it's a waffly texture. Let's see if I can get it under the card so you can kind of see. It's a bit of a waffly texture. And what that does is it creates tiny little air pockets so that your deck doesn't clump, right? So that when you shuffle it and you fan it or you do whatever you're going to do with it, it just lays out beautifully. There's no stick or clump, which is lovely. Anyways, I'm just like a cardstock nerd, so I'm going to talk about that. This has gold foil stars on the back, which is super pretty. Feels like a nice quality gold gilding on the edges of the cards. And this is a breathtaking deck. It feels really, for me, this has literally romanced me. This entire deck has romanced me. I am not the type to normally go for something with such a muted or specific limited color palette. That's the word I was looking for. I don't typically go for limited color palette decks, but this one is just incredible. There's something about it. It feels very grown up to me. It feels very elegant and soft, and yet it also feels diverse and empowering. I just love that combination. It feels just really accessible, and it feels more relatable, I guess, than some of the other more, I don't know, old-fashioned seeming decks. I don't know what the right term is for it. Vintage decks feel. This is like vintage meets modern, and I love that. I feel like there's just a really nice, comforting vibe to this deck, and it's been the only deck I've wanted to reach for romance readings for like a little bit now, which is almost alarming me because I've had a couple of favorites in that category for years that this just has like replaced lately. Maybe it's a phase, maybe it's permanent, I don't know, but I really love this deck. Now, this originally was a independent deck, and it was a Kickstarter, I believe, and I went back and forth on whether to get it, ultimately decided limited color palette. Lisa, you're probably not going to reach for it, but I am so pleased with this mass market version. I have zero issues or regrets about not having gotten in on it when it was an independent deck. I think US Games did a really incredible job with this, and I'm just really pleased about the quality. It feels really luxurious and nice. I feel like before this, you couldn't really get this kind of quality at this kind of price. Now, I will say, for a mass market deck, this is getting up there nearer to independent deck pricing, so that's something to be aware of. It's not the bargain that a lot of mass market decks often are, but I think it's very well worth it for what you're getting. That's my take on it anyways. I'm really happy with this, and I couldn't be more happy with it, actually. I really, really love it. And the last card, which I think is the only not US Games deck that we're covering today, is the Woodland Wardens. And indeed, this is an Andrew McMeel publishing deck. I haven't covered this as Mass Market Madness, but I have talked about this deck a bunch on the channel. It is such a wonderful, affordable mass market Oracle deck. It is so good. Its cover price is $19.99 in the US or $26.99 in Canada, which is really good. It's got 52 cards. It's by Jessica Rue. I don't think this one came out independent first and then was picked up. I think it was created in the mass market, which is great. But this is a wonderful deck. I did not buy this one. This one was sent to me as a gift from a viewer, and it's just worked its way in to be a favorite for me. I love the softness of it. This is not something I'd normally be drawn to. I typically prefer really vibrant colors. Muted decks don't typically float my boat, but this one is so well done. I like the sort of soft, it almost feels like you're looking at these images from a storybook, from like an aged storybook or something. But what I really especially love is that it manages to give me animal energy, plant or botanical energy, and tell me what they are, so I don't have to think about it, because as a lot of us know, my animal identification skills are not the best, let alone plant identification skills. Like, it's not happening. So I really like that they tell us this is the dragonfly and pansy, and then they give us a keyword, balance. Here we have the spider and passion flower with creative ingenuity, the badger and ginkgo, the hawk and thistle, the crow and dogwood. This one also feels like an independent deck, kind of. Like, the cardstock feels a little bit thinner, but it doesn't feel cheap, if that makes sense. It feels really nice. It shuffles really well. Look at these cards, though. Look, we have the ladybug. Okay, I always point that one out because I love that card, but let's see if we can find some others to point out. The moth and eucalyptus. The otter and cattail with peace. I love that so much. The frog and lotus. I love this card. The messages in the guidebook do such an incredible job of helping you to understand why this plant and this animal were paired for that keyword. And that's one of the things that shouldn't be underestimated about this deck. It really, every base is covered. There's nothing here that isn't here for a purpose. Here we have the hound and pear for loyalty, the trout and lily of the valley. And because this is just animals and plants, I feel like it could work well with a more modern deck or a more vintage deck and still work beautifully and look aesthetically really nice. A lot of people have paired this, including myself, with the Oak, Ash, and Thorn Tarot. Now, the Oak, Ash, and Thorn has an Oracle deck that's out for pre-order right now called the Thistledown Oracle, which is absolutely stunning and lovely. But this still makes a beautiful pairing as well with the Oak, Ash, and Thorn. Oh, I just love this. I love it so much. I think I've shown you almost all the cards, but it's beautiful. Here's what the backings look like. And again, it feels a little bit like I would say the cardstock feels a little similar actually to like a Hay House cardstock. It doesn't feel thick. It shuffles really nicely, and you can see that it takes just a little bit. I don't know if you'll be able to see in the camera. There's a little tiny bit of warping, I guess you can see, that happens from shuffling, like a little bit of breaking in, but not in a way where like the whole deck starts to take on a curve, at least not for me yet. And I feel like I've used this a good amount. But what I like is that the cardstock flexes and is soft enough that you can comfortably shuffle it. Like I said, it might feel a little thin, but I like it. It's maybe a little on the papery side, but it shuffles nicely. And I just feel like for what you're getting, it's just a really wonderful one. So let's take a quick look at the guidebook. I just talked about this in my last this or that also, because I can't rave about this enough. But anyways, in every card entry, you get a full-size grayscale image. You get the keyword up at the top. You get this like, what's that called? Book plate lettering? No, letter plate? I forget what that's called. Copper plate? I don't know what it's called. Anyways, there's a thing up there. Illuminated, right? An illuminated letter? I don't know. Like in storybooks, y'all. Somebody knows the name for it. But anyway, you get a write-up. But the write-up actually explains. So here we have the deer and the oat. And it says, the shy and gentle fallow deer is known for its white spots and the broad velvety antlers it sheds and regrows each year. Similarly, oats are symbols of restorative nutrition. Even in poor soil, oats can flourish, providing hearty sustenance. And the meaning for this is healing. So it doesn't just slap an animal and a plant together and be like, okay, these ones mean healing. It literally has a reason for it. I say it, sorry, Jessica. The book did not do this on its own. Jessica wrote the book. Jessica created this deck. And Jessica made sure that we knew why this animal and this plant are put together with the keyword healing. And then you get an upright message and a reverse message, and then 2 questions, which, by the way, work beautifully to make a tarot spread. So, for example, let's say we had drawn, let's grab one. Okay, the quail and the gooseberry. So we have the, what should I grab here? I'll just grab the texture tarot because it's right here. Okay, so we have the quail and the gooseberry, and if I go to this entry, it's card number 11. Oh, are these Roman numerals? I forgot. That is one thing that messed me up with this deck. They're numbered in Roman numerals, which if you don't know Roman numerals, that can be a pain. But anyways, let's just find the quail. I think L is 50, right? As if you guys are going to be able to tell me. LI. Oh, it's the very last card, I think. Anyways, so here for the quail and the gooseberry, our keyword is anticipation. And here's the 2 questions. Am I often surprised or caught off guard by how things turn out? And the second question is, how can I balance vigilance with a healthy openness to risk? So this one might not be the best example, but let's just try it. So I like using those 2 little questions as tarot prompts. So here I have my textured tarot. So the first question was, am I often surprised or caught off guard by how things turn out? So instead what I'm going to do here is say, how do I respond when I'm surprised by how things turn out, or something along those lines. So I'm going to shuffle and kind of rework that question a little bit and be like, okay, I have the 3 of Wands. So this tells me that I just kind of, this is not how I normally am. I'm a planner. I don't like it when things surprise me, but this would almost make me feel like I do go with the flow. Like well, this is where we're at. Let's go with it, right? And then the second question was, how can I balance vigilance with a healthy openness to risk? Vigilance with openness to risk, because the 3 of Wands feels like an openness to risk kind of card, right? So let's just see, how can I balance vigilance with openness to risk? How can I balance vigilance with openness to risk? And we have the Chariot. Just stay focused on where it is that I'm trying to get, and that can help me navigate that when there's those twists and turns that come up. So you see what I mean? It makes, and this is like that whole, like building a tarot spread off of an oracle. I really like doing that. Let me just put these cards away. I really enjoy doing that, and this deck serves very well in that capacity, which is just a lot of fun, honestly. So that is the Woodland Wardens Oracle, and again, a fantastic buy and readily available. Easy to get a hold of. Love it. So that was my one and only not US Games deck. So let's recap. We have the Woodland Wardens Oracle, the Theodore Pavlov Tarot, the Love Who You Are Oracle, the Phantasma Tarot, and the Botanical Inspirations Oracle. All really, really wonderful mass market decks that I heartily recommend. I would love to hear your experiences with these decks. Let us know your thoughts on these decks down below. Do you have some of these, all of these? Do you want any of these? Let us know your thoughts. I can't wait to hear what you all think of these decks, so definitely be sure and comment down below. As always, if you enjoyed your time here, be sure and like this video, subscribe, and don't forget to click that little notification bell so you are notified when I upload new content. As always, an extra big thank you goes out to my unicorn fam, my channel members. Thank you so much for supporting my work here. It means the world. And to everybody, thank you for spending your time here on this channel. It really means a lot. And until next time, may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye.